The protagonist has the awareness of what they're doing. They've recognized this pattern, but they're still doing it. They're not making any changes. Hi everyone, welcome to this video. On my channel, I analyze song lyrics very in depth through the lens of literary analysis. Today, we're going to be analyzing the song I Bet on Losing Dogs by mitski. I will make sure to link my mitski analysis playlist below for you. It contains all the mitski songs I've analyzed so far. Feel free to comment down below which song by mitski I should analyze next. For your reference, here's a list of literary terms I may refer to throughout this video. And as always, everything I state is just my own opinion. Music is a very subjective thing, and I always enjoy hearing what you think down below in the comments. This song title is pretty telling in my opinion. I am thinking about dogfights, which are inhumane and violent and illegal, I'm pretty sure. No good vibes here. This is something that is very intense. It also connotes a feeling of entrapment because the dogs can't really consent to fight. You know what I mean? I guess they're trained to do it, but I do get a sense of entrapment from this as well. The protagonist is betting within a dogfight. They're making a decision to participate in the world of dogfighting, which could be a reflection of the protagonist. That doesn't really put them in a good light. And the protagonist, in the context of this song, is essentially referring to her love interests as dogs. It's possible the people she's interested in maybe weren't good people, but this metaphor is interesting. There's a very negative way that we can interpret the protagonist here because of this metaphor of a dogfight. There is, of course, many ways to extrapolate this out, but so far, not chill vibes. Let's dive into verse 1 and see where this goes. My baby, you're my baby. Say it to me. This could be cute, okay? This could be cute. It could be flirtatious. You're like, oh my gosh. Let's read further for a second. This is gonna be not cute in just a moment. Baby, my baby, tell your baby that I'm your baby. See, this is not cute anymore. Before the last line of verse 1, you think that the protagonist has a love interest or maybe they're in a relationship. However, upon reading further, it becomes evident that the protagonist has feelings for someone that's in a relationship already. And you know, sometimes this happens. You can't help who you like. You can, however, control your actions and your decisions. The protagonist here seems to not care about the relationship that their love interest is in, which again does not paint them in the best light, in my opinion. The first time that I heard the song and I read this lyric, I was kind of shook. I was like, interesting. I did not expect this to happen based on the first 3 lyrics here. I do want to reiterate, we don't know the exact context for this song. I find mitski's lyrics to always be kind of ambiguous, which I actually enjoy. I really like ambiguous lyrics. So there's going to be a lot of ways we can interpret this, a lot of different lenses we can view this through. And I do want to say it's possible the protagonist is just thinking this. I don't necessarily think the protagonist is going up to this person and telling them to break up with their current romantic partner. I do view this as more of an internal monologue, but what this is indicating to me is that the protagonist wants their love interest. They don't care that they're in a relationship. It's possible that this person is their ex and they still feel like they should be together. Going back up to the first 3 lines, again, this could be cute depending on the context. If you want to view it in a more negative light, especially taking into account the last line here, this could feel a little bit desperate. This could be coming from someone that would need reassurance. They need to be told that they're the baby. Remember, it says, say it to me. Perhaps this protagonist needs some validation, some external validation. And this could be due to their past experiences, to their past traumas. I get a sense of an unsettled, unbalanced internal state in regards to the protagonist. I think that they're in a space of feeling hurt right now. Chorus. The chorus starts out by saying the protagonist bets on losing dogs. The protagonist knows they're losing and they pay for their place by the ring where they'll be looking in their eyes when they're down. Protagonist is looking into the eyes of the dogs that are fighting. So far in the chorus, what's being illustrated is intentionality. The protagonist has the awareness of what they're doing. They've recognized this pattern, but they're still doing it. They're not making any changes to their method of trying to craft a love life. The protagonist keeps betting on the wrong person. Perhaps they do this subconsciously subconsciously, due to unresolved trauma, they're attracted to people that are never going to be available for them. I'm glad the protagonist has awareness of this, right? Because once you're aware of something, that puts you in a position of power to try to change it if you'd like. But these sound like people that are not compatible with the protagonist, maybe not interested, literally unavailable because they're in another relationship, or even emotionally unavailable. The fact that they're losing is interesting because this makes me think about what they would be fighting for. You know what I mean? In this metaphor, this is like a dog fight, which is horrifying. However, the winner of a dog fight, like, what are they winning? You can say they'd be winning the love of the love interest. One way to interpret this would be to think about, okay, there's two guys fighting over the protagonist. Maybe the protagonist does have multiple suitors at once, but they end up picking the wrong one. It's like when you're attracted to bad guys and you have the attention of a good guy, like he's into you and he's a good person, you are compatible and he's cute. But then there's the bad boy. He has a metaphorical leather jacket on. He's dangerous, but you're intrigued. They could both be fighting for your attention. You're betting on the wrong person. You're betting on the bad boy here and not the good guy. I'm generalizing the good guy and the bad boy. This takes many forms and it's very nuanced and subtle. I'm trying to generalize this to paint a picture. The protagonist seems to be picking the wrong guy here. I personally think this metaphor of a dogfight is used because it's so intense and inhumane and not chill, to put it lightly. The violence here, I think, is indicative of the depth of pain the protagonist is feeling. Protagonist is saying that they're looking in their eyes when they're down. She is looking intently into the eyes of a love interest while they could be betraying her, or while realizing that they're not going to fit together. She's in an intimate moment with them while coming to the realization that she picked the wrong love interest. I'll be there on their side, losing by their side. This sounds very painful. In the second line of the chorus, it says the protagonist is paying for her place. And I think this is referring to her place in the audience. She's paying for the ticket, which shows, again, intentionality. She had a role to play in this. No one's innocent. I think she's paying through her emotions, through pain, through her time. That's wasted time, right? And also through her mental and psychological well-being. You may be asking, why is she putting herself through that? And again, these could be subconscious things due to past traumas, lack of self-love, lack of self-respect. Sometimes, even when you have the awareness of something, you may keep repeating the pattern. Even when you think you're not, you still are. That could be what's happening. Or maybe the protagonist is just now having an epiphany, realizing what she's been doing this whole time. While that love interest is losing, the protagonist is losing because they're realizing this is not going to work out. They're losing a chance at having a meaningful, valuable relationship. Verse 2. I interrupt this video with a very special message from myself. This is sponsored by me. I want to let you guys know that I'm offering services on the website Fiverr. I'm offering a few different things. I can help you refine your own analysis skills to develop your own unique perspective about poetry, about song lyrics, about any written work. I've also been getting a lot of messages from you guys letting me know that you use my videos to help you learn English. So if you need an English conversation partner, I'm your girl. You can converse through the internet. I can help you with pronunciation, sentence structure, and random things about American culture that are not super intuitive. If you're a songwriter or a poet and want me to read your original piece of work and provide you with a very detail-oriented feedback, I can do that as well. All that information is going to be linked down below. If you have any questions about any of the services I'm offering, please message me directly through the website Fiverr. Back to the video that you actually clicked here for. Will you let me, baby, lose on losing dogs? The first line here suggests that the love interest is kind of like talking to a love interest and saying, okay, like, am I gonna lose this one too? They're placing a little bit of responsibility and pressure on a potential love interest. They're like, are you gonna make me lose again? I think this is all an internal sort of monologue, an internal sort of thought process. This is someone who's very frustrated, maybe getting to their wits' end emotionally. Lose on losing dogs is an interesting lyric because I'm comparing this to bet on losing dogs, which is part of the song title. I want to compare the diction bet versus lose. When you're betting on something, you're taking a chance. There's a risk. The outcome is uncertain. So there's maybe some excitement as well. There's maybe a sliver of hope that you're going to bet on something that's going to be beneficial for you. Lose has no mystery. right? It's like the outcome is predetermined, or you're like psychic or something. Hashtag that's a raven. It's opposing to the word bet. Here, since the word lose is used, I think that there is a lack of hope on part of the protagonist. The way this is phrased seems very passive and very not hopeful on part of the protagonist. They're saying, will you let me lose? As if the protagonist is asking to lose. They're expecting to lose. There's no hope here. The protagonist is in a very low emotional state. I know they're losing and I pay for my place. That's repeated by the ring. That's repeated as well. Where I'll be looking in their eyes when they're down. The rest of the lyrics are repeated. I would not interpret them in a different way. I would say what I already said earlier. What I think is significant here are the connotations of the first two lines, which I already discussed. I get the sense that the protagonist is feeling very defeated. And again, they don't have hope. Verse 3. I want to feel it. I bet on losing dogs. I always want you when I'm finally fine. When the protagonist says they want to feel it, I think they want to feel victory. They want to feel winning, but I'm also inclined to interpret this in a more negative way. I feel like the protagonist is on like a negative spiral, so perhaps they want to feel the feeling of loss. Maybe they're addicted to it. Maybe they're in a victim mentality, which is something that can become addictive. They want to keep losing and losing because they're used to it. They know that routine. You can interpret it either way, in the more positive or negative way. I kind of am more partial towards the negative interpretation, and my interpretation could change. But right now, just based on the diction here and the tone, I think that this protagonist is in a negative loop right now, a negative spiral. This can very easily happen without you realizing it. I'm sure they're in a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. It's just not chill vibes, to put it very lightly. The protagonist again is restating they bet on losing dogs. Then the protagonist says they always want the other person, the love interest, when they're finally fine. The diction here is important. It's very telling. The word finally suggests that the protagonist is usually not fine. When they're finally fine, it's an accomplishment. It's a change. And this indicates the protagonist is usually not in a good emotional or mental state. They're usually not feeling the most chill. So it seems like the protagonist is picking people that are bad for them when they finally have like a good moment where they're feeling okay and feeling balanced and their internal state is in order. That's when they want the right person. That's how I'm thinking about it. And this makes sense. When you are in a more balanced internal place, when you respect yourself and love yourself, and when you feel like yourself, you're more likely to pick someone who's good for you. When you respect yourself, you are not going to be tolerant of people who don't respect you. But when you're not chill with yourself, if someone else is not chill towards you, if someone else is mean to you, you're used to it because that's how you treat yourself. How you feel about yourself and how much you respect yourself can very easily manifest in the behaviors you accept from other people. I think that's a very important lyric. I view it as kind of like the thesis statement for this song. The next line here, I think, is the protagonist daydreaming about being physically intimate with this person that they want when they're finally fine. Because of the diction, the word how, it's kind of like the protagonist is conjuring up a sort of daydream. And then the lyrics after that say someone to watch protagonist die, and that's repeated. That's very dark. I think the protagonist is at war with themselves. I think the protagonist feels very full emotionally. They've had no release of these intense feelings. Those feelings are being manifested in the thought processes here in verse 3. The protagonist says they bet on losing dogs. And then the last lyric I find very haunting. It says, did you get that? Kind of like the protagonist is outlining this whole pattern, and they, at the very end, have this sort of daydream of being with someone that they like when they're fine. But I don't think that has happened in reality. And that's upsetting to them. I think they're trying to explain the pain that they've been feeling, and that's why it says, did you get that? Did you get that is a very simple phrase, but everything that was described before this is very intense and heavy and dark. The protagonist likes a specific person when they feel good, but perhaps the protagonist hasn't been able to be with them yet because they don't feel fine all the time. Oftentimes when you're in a dark place, your decision making isn't the best, so it may be more difficult for you to allow good people or people that are good for you into your life. That time period where you're down and where there's darkness around you, that's when you need good people around you, right? But sometimes it's hard to pick those people because of your emotional state, even though that's when you need them the most. I don't think there's a resolution to this song. I think this is very much illustrating a moment in time, or maybe an extended moment in time, because we're talking about patterns of behavior. I think this protagonist is talking about their love life and the experiences they've had, and I think there are a lot of internal issues they're experiencing that's affecting their love life in a negative way. They want someone that they can't have, not only because they're in a relationship, but also because I think they usually don't feel fine. And I'm not trying to vilify the protagonist here at all. This is how they're feeling. This is the emotional state they're in. And it's very heartbreaking and difficult, but right now it is what it is. I think there's anger and pain here, and there's a lot of darkness that I sense. And I hope that the protagonist is able to bring in some brightness, and not just to have a good romantic partner, but just for themselves. I really hope the protagonist can heal and not go to metaphorical dogfights and not be betting on dogfights. I hope they're able to have the clarity to pick someone that's good for them. That's something that I hope will happen for the protagonist, but right now I think this is very much a snapshot of someone who is feeling all of these intense feelings that are difficult to feel. I think this song is very successful in illustrating that. That's all I have for this song. I would love to know your thoughts. Please feel free to share it with me down below in the comments. My tutoring and consulting services will also be linked down below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!